And of course, Nev's speech and many others are all on this fabulous album, 20 Great Declarations of War.
Now, Cicely Fenton, I gather you feel you played an important part in the lead-up to the war, as you were actually on the plane with Chamberlain as he travelled to those vital Munich summit talks.
Yes, indeed.
And what did Chamberlain actually say to you?
Well, I remember about 10 minutes after takeoff, he was looking very pensive, and he beckoned me over and said, "Don't stand there gawping, you dozy strumpet. Get me a packet of peanuts, and not the ones that make you fart."
And did you say anything to him?
Oh, yes. In event of an emergency, your life jacket is under your seat.
Terrific. Well, of course, the Munich talks were not wholly successful insofar as they plunged most of the world into the greatest Holocaust known to man. But for those of you unlucky enough to miss it, KYTV can now bring you that evening's news bulletin as it would have been had they had the advantages of today's technology.
Good evening. This is the news for September the 29th, 1939. The Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain has held an historic meeting with the German Chancellor Herr Hitler in the Birchesgarten in Munich. Sorry, we seem to have the wrong pictures there, but hopefully we'll be able to bring you those pictures a little later. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister returned from Munich with a piece of paper which said the films come out of its sprocket holes, so keep waffling. Here's our appeasement correspondent, an adapter.
The Prime Minister announced, "This is the second time in our history that there has come back from Germany to Downing Street peace with honour. I believe it is peace in our time." Mike.
Thank you, Anna. In Czechoslovakia, the Prime Minister... In Czechoslovakia, the Prime Minister painted a far more sinister picture. I'm sorry, I don't think that is a sinister picture, in fact. It's definitely not the Czechoslovakian Prime Minister anyway, that's for sure. Yes. Yes, I see. Yes, I understand. But I'm afraid this isn't actually Dial Pizza. No. Anna.
Mike.
Martin.
Oh, Mike. Welcome back.
Well, we're very sorry. We seem to have lost the Second World War. Not in any historical sense, of course. I wouldn't want you to think that was part of the news recreation, because, of course, we didn't lose it. I don't think.
Those wonderful warriors.
There are many who lived through the war who will never forget their experiences, and one such person is here with us in the studio today, Sir Anthony Trollope, who we'll be hearing from in a moment. Sir Anthony, what was it like during the war?
Well, it was rather like a waterfall. 1 minute everything would be going well, the next things would suddenly turn against you.
Yes. Not very like a waterfall, is it?
No, I probably could have chosen a better analogy.
Yes, but the point you're making is that things were always changing.
Exactly,
yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Rather like a bicycle.
A bicycle?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, no, OK,
No.
not like a bicycle then, but things were changing all the time, that's my point.
Yes, so what's your strongest memory of these days?
Well, I remember one bitterly hot day. I was standing stretched out on the lawn, and this damned Stuka swooped out of the sky like an enormous tractor and opened fire. Got me right in the leg. I still walk with a slight limp, actually.
The plane came out of the sky like an enormous tractor.
I do wish you wouldn't keep picking me up on these things. I'm not a literary man myself, but your producer did ask me to spice things up a bit with some appropriate metaphors.
I see. Like a biscuit?
Yes, he was rather like a biscuit, now you mention it. Short with curly hair.
Right.
Coming soon, a major new Hollywood miniseries, War and Men, the heartrending story of World War II.
Montgomery to see you, General Eisenhower, sir!
Show him in, Corporal.
Yes, sir!
Field Marshal Montgomery, Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the British and Allied forces in northern France.
Hiya, General. How goes it?
Not bad, Monty. Not bad. New Brits?
Oh, absolutely top-hole, thank you, sir.
Coffee?
Do you have tea?
Oh, yes, I was forgetting. What? The 4th Battalion have established a bridgehead to the mouth of the Ruhr, and the German army are retreating in disarray? Let's go get him, soldier.
Yes, sir.
You can drink your tea later.
God, I wish I knew how to win this war.
War. That's all I ever hear from you these days, Adolf Hitler.
It's important, goddammit, Eva. For the future of the Third Reich.
Aren't we important anymore?
I know you need me. But so does the fatherland.
Go get him, soldier. I love you, you goddamn fascist dictator, you.
With Sylvester Stallone as Squadron Leader Douglas Bader. Starting soon on KYTV, War and Men.
Sir Anthony, do you remember the outbreak of war?
Yes, it was rather like a sleepy summer's day in the Cotswolds.
Absolutely terrifying.
That's right,
Yes. I'm beginning to see how your mind works.
Wonderful World War II.
Well, of course, once the war got underway, a lot of British children were sent all over the world. And we can hopefully now link up, and I don't know if you can hear me, with one of them, Eddie Grimthorpe. Now, Eddie, I gather that you were one of the first children to be evacuated from Newcastle. Is that right?
Yep, sure was. I was 5 years of age when my folks sent me away.
Most of them came back to England after the war, but there were one or two who stayed abroad.
Yeah, that's right, yep.
So it seems rather curious that you were one of the ones who came back.
Like I say, once a Geordie, always a Geordie.
Where exactly were you sent to?
Scotland.
So, Sir Anthony Trollope, I believe that you were also evacuated yourself, were you not?
Yes, I was a sort of reverse evacuee, as it were.
In what way?
Well, my wife and I went to Canada and left the children in the East End. I mean, it seemed reasonable. We had our whole lives ahead of us, and they were only children.
I see.
But I don't want to create the wrong impression. I mean, during the early years of the war in London, we contributed to the war effort as a family in no small measure. We were certainly ready for the Germans.
You were ready for them?
Yes, we had a Nazi flag in the hall, as I remember, and a portrait of Hitler over the fireplace.
Well, with the spirit of appeasement very much in our hearts, with 1992 almost certain to come about in 2 years' time, and with KYTV already broadcasting to over 200 million homes in Europe, admittedly none of them as yet with a receiver of any kind, what better time to bury the hatchet, as it were, than with our specially devised United Europe three-way quiz. OK, so I'd like to start with a very simple round. I'd like you just to spell the name of your native country. So, Maria, let's start with you.
Italia.
Yes, very close. It actually ends in a Y. Pierre.
France.
Yes, I'm afraid there's no such letter as And finally, Klaus.
Deutschland.
Not even one correct letter there, so... Let's go on to our first round. Nobody off the mark yet. No pun intended there, Klaus, by the way. And the first round is history. So, Klaus, your history question coming up. Who won the World Cup in 1966?
England.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
England.
England, yes, indeed. England did, in fact, win the World Cup in 1966. And for 10 points, Klaus, who did they beat?
I can't remember.
I'll give you a clue. Quite a lot of people you know live in this country.
West Germany.
West Germany, yes, indeed. England did, in fact, thrash West Germany in the World Cup final of 1966. Now, Pierre, which London railway station is named after a famous 19th century battle? It starts with W and ends in Lou.
Winslow?
Yes, you're not really trying now, are you? I'll give you another chance.
Waterloo.
Waterloo, yes, and who was defeated at Waterloo?
France.
Yes, France. Britain did, in fact, whop the froggies at the Battle of Waterloo. And speaking of wops, Maria. Anagrams for you. Lussomini is the anagram of which well-known fascist dictator?
Mussolini.
Mussolini. Who's from?
Italy.
Italy, yes. Who pulled out the Second World War halfway through?
Italy.
Italy, yes. Who has come last in more It's a Knockout competitions than anybody else?
Italy.
Italy, yes. Where does the mafia come from?
Italy.
Italy, yes. Who runs the mafia?
My father.
Does he? Who won this year's Eurovision Song Contest?
Italy.
Italy, yes. Where do I love going on holiday?
Italy.
Italy, yes. What's my favourite meal?
Spaghetti bolognese.
Spaghetti bolognese. And who has won the quiz?
Maria!
Good old Maria from good old ITALIA, where the mafia comes from.
Those wonderful warriors!
Welcome back.